TJ Technologies is proud to sponsor today's Farm Basics. Micronutrients are essential for healthy and productive growth in lawns, gardens, and crops. Check us out at tjmicromix.com because it's the little things that make a big difference.
During our Farm Basics time today, we wanted to talk a little about fall lawn and Shelterbelt care.
Well, there are many things going on in the fall, but you can't forget about the best time of year to control weeds in your lawn or in your shelter belts. When you think about fall, I look at it around my yard as a chance not to harm my wife's flowers because they're already gone. They're done for the year. So now is my shot where I can spray some 2,4-D in my lawn to try and kill tough weeds like dandelions, thistles, clovers, just about anything that could be out there.
Okay, but it's not just flowers are done. Once the leaves drop off the trees around your place, once the crops are basically mature around your area, now all of a sudden you can spray some 2,4-D and you don't have to worry about just a tiny little bit of drift getting somewhere. And don't get me wrong, we don't want to have off-target spraying, off-target movement, anything like that, but still, I mean, it's just one of those things. We just don't have as many worries in the fall. So we can really load up using the maximum labeled rate of 2,4-D, and that's what we would suggest in most cases.
You still want to be careful if you've got evergreen trees or things that are still growing, or if you're in an area that doesn't have a frost and you've got flowers year-round, then you do have to be a little bit cautious. But there are other opportunities that you've got too. Like, for example, in a shelter belt like this one, fall is a great time to do some trimming out in your trees. Let's say you've got some branches that are really low and you can't get your lawnmower underneath and you just want to trim them up. Now's a good time. There's less pressure from diseases and other stresses for your trees if you do it in the fall. If you're doing it in the middle of the summer, it's a lot warmer. There's more diseases that are present in the air and in the environment. You're just taking more risk when you're doing it at that time of year. I like to do tree trimming in the fall.
Another thing you need to address in the fall is nutrients. We would suggest soil testing, and I know you might say, I'm not going to soil test for my little lawn or shelter belt, but it is a good idea. Find out what your crop needs, which would be the trees or your lawn. Find out what it really needs. Find out what your soil test is saying and match the two things up. It's not that difficult, and that will allow you to spend as little as possible and get the maximum gain out of your trees and your lawn.
Well, I like to look at it this way too. If you're competing with your neighbor with your lawn, or maybe you're competing with your brother or anybody else, if you're pulling a soil sample, chances are you're going to be one step ahead of whoever you're competing against, because most people aren't pulling soil samples on their lawn. They're just blindly spreading fertilizer, perhaps way too much fertilizer. They're wasting money, and they could be harming the environment. By pulling a soil test, you can do the exact right thing for your lawn. It'll look the best, and it'll also be the best for everything else around you when you're putting the right amount of fertilizer on.
Well, once again, fall is a great time to work on management of your lawn and your shelter belt. Do everything you can to both fertilize it well and control the weeds.
Well, speaking of weeds, you have to get our weed of the week under control no matter where it lays. Can you identify this week's weed?